Hi everybody, thanks for joining me. Alistair Trent here, and today I'm going to be speaking about rental discounts and how you can use them to increase your rents by more than the guideline published every year by the Ontario Ministry of Housing. As most landlords in Ontario are aware, the market rents for rental units has gone up considerably more than the amount that the government allows landlords to increase rent each year in recent years, and this will at least allow you to somewhat better keep pace with that and maximize the rents from your rental portfolio. So when you're looking at rental discounting and how to use it to increase rents, there's two basic ways that I recommend landlords look into it. The first is a prompt payment discount, which I'll be speaking about today. It's extremely easy to implement and allows you to essentially double the amount of the rent increase you can take after the first year. And there's another fixed term discount program as well. However, that's considerably more complex, and I'll save that for a future video. So in this presentation, you'll learn how to legally use a prompt payment discount to encourage rent payment on time, charge an additional fee for late payments, and increase the lawful rent upon which the future rent increases are based. And as I say, it'll allow, in most cases, you to approximately double the amount of rent increase you can take after the first year. And as I was also saying, there's term discounts and other type of discounts that can allow you to increase the rent over 12% without board approval. However, those are considerably more complex. I'll save them for a future video. The restriction on charging rent comes from Section 111 of the Residential Tenancies Act, which basically says no landlord shall charge a rent for a rental unit in an amount that's greater than the lawful rent permitted under this part. However, it goes on to say that the lawful rent is not affected by a discount in rent at the beginning of or during a tenancy of up to 2% of the rent that could otherwise lawfully be charged for a rental period, if the discount is provided for paying rent on or before the date it is due, and the discount meets the prescribed conditions. The first thing to note is that the discount cannot be more than 2% of the rent that could otherwise lawfully be charged. And when you're dealing with lawful rents, you always round down, because a rent that's even 1 penny above the lawful rent is nevertheless an unlawful rent and can cause you considerable problems. The other thing I would say is not to include additional qualifications in offering the discount. The discount is solely for paying rent on or before the date it is due, and so don't include things like, the discount's only available if the tenant doesn't have pets in the unit or fulfills other conditions, because those don't strictly comply with the requirement. And finally, while it's not entirely clear from the legislation, I would suggest that the rent be offered for each month individually, in the sense that, let's say the tenant pays rent for 3 months on time and then pays the 4th month late. Charge the undiscounted rent in the 4th month, but do not provide that the clawback of the 3 months that they paid on time, because again, you could run into a board member saying that that doesn't comply with the legislation, and thereby giving you a whole lot of problems, particularly if you're suing the tenant for rent, because if that were the case and the board were to find that, then your notice of termination may well be declared to be invalid, and you would have to start all over again. So essentially, view each month as an individual period and only offer the discount or charge back the discount for those months that the rent is actually paid late. While the discount can be offered during or at the beginning of a tenancy, there's absolutely no benefit in doing it during a tenancy, because if you offer a discount from the lawful rent that the tenant's already paying, obviously you're going to be collecting less rent. However, if you do it from the outset when you're negotiating a lease with the tenant, then you can obtain all these benefits. And the way that you do that is to simply work back from the rent that you would otherwise charge to arrive at the discount. So to calculate the lawful rent, work backwards from the rent you would otherwise expect to charge, which would be the market rent. So let's say that you are going to charge a market rent of $1,000 for the unit, even though that's practically impossible in Ontario these days, but nevertheless, it makes for an easy calculation. You would then divide that by 0.98, and you would come to an undiscounted or lawful rent of $1,020.40, and the prompt payment discount would therefore be $20.40, so that in each month where the tenant paid the rent on time, they pay $1,000, which is the same rent as you would otherwise charge, and in any month where they're late, they pay the $1,020.40. The benefits for this is that it encourages rent payments to be made on time, and it actually allows a late fee, which are otherwise prohibited to be charged for late payments, and it also increases the lawful rent base for the future rent increases. To accomplish this, you would use the Ontario Standard Form Lease, which I'll go through in a minute. And under paragraph 5 of the Standard Form Lease, which actually specifically accommodates this strategy, you simply put the undiscounted rent in the lawful rent section in paragraph 5, and then paragraph 7 deals with rental discounts, which you would then fill out to accommodate the discount. And I will go through the Standard Form Lease momentarily after I finish with this brief presentation. Just again, based on the numbers and how it benefits your ability to increase the rents above guideline. At the time I gave this presentation, the guideline was 1.8%. It's now 2.2%, but nevertheless, the math works out relatively equivalently. The lawful rent in this case is the undiscounted rent, which is $1,020.40. At the end of the year, you can increase it by, at the time, 1.8%, which would give you a new lawful rent of $1,038.76, which works out to a rent increase of 3.876% on the $1,000 that you would otherwise have charged, as opposed to the 1.8% that would normally be applicable. So this is the Ontario Standard Form Lease, which is a mandatory form for most residential rentals in Ontario as of April 30th, 2018. And we'll just go through it briefly and show you how to fill it out to implement a prompt payment discount that we were discussing in the presentation. So the first paragraph that's relevant is paragraph 5, and in the base rent for the rental unit, you put the full undiscounted rent, being the $1,020.40, using the same figures we were discussing in the presentation. And again, at the bottom where the total rent or lawful rent, again, $1,020.40. You then go down to paragraph 7, which is the section dealing specifically with rental discounts, and you check off the box that says the lawful rent will be discounted as follows. The rent will be discounted 2%, $20.40 in each month where the rent is paid on or before the due date. This discount will expire at the end of the initial term unless the landlord and tenant enter into an agreement for a further discount. And this gets back to the same scenario we were discussing in the presentation, where if the tenant pays the rent on time, then it's $1,000, and if they pay the rent late, then it's $1,020.40. Also, the last provision that I put in here is necessary because Ontario tenancies are deemed to renew on the same terms as an expired tenancy agreement. So unless you put that provision in there, then the discount can be deemed to renew on, together with the tenancy, which prevents you from increasing the rent as we discussed in the presentation. So I hope you found this video informative. If you did, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel on Ontario Landlord Network. If you have any questions relating to rental property or property disputes in general, please feel free to contact my office at 416-628-4835 or through my website at www.investrent.ca. And I wish you all the best for trouble-free and profitable rental investing.